The Dungeon Master Experience. This regular column is for dungeon masters who like to build worlds and campaigns as much as I do. Here, I share my experiences as a DM through the lens of Iomandra, my Dungeons & Dragons campaign world. Even though the campaign uses the 4th edition rules, the topics covered here often transcend editions. Hopefully, this series of articles will give you inspiration, ideas, and awesome new ways to menace your players in your home campaigns. If you're interested in learning more about the world of Iomandra, check out the wiki. Dungeon Master for Life, Chris Perkins.
Popcorn. 6/2/11. Wednesday night. Early in the campaign, on the island of Keth, the heroes destroyed a cursed cauldron hidden deep inside an underground temple. This act triggered a curse that caused the dead to rise all across the island. The shambling horde chased the heroes back to the fortified village of Turakan, where they made their final stand. I drew up a map of the village's palisade wall on a wet erase battle map, and beyond this wall I arrayed a legion of D&D miniatures, skeletons, and other undead critters. There must have been at least 50 of them. Many levels later, the village of Turakan was again threatened, this time by goblins hiding out in the Feywild. The goblins were using a ritual to create a Fey crossing, allowing them to surreptitiously invade the village without having to breach the palisades. When the heroes caught wind of the goblin scheme, they ventured to the Feywild and assaulted the goblin stockade, which was filled to the brim with nearly 100 of the villainous little buggers, as well as a few dozen hobgoblins and bugbears. When it comes to throwing monsters at my players, the more the merrier. I love minions. To me, they're like popcorn. I can't get enough of them. Every now and then I dive into my collection of pre-painted plastic minis and sort them into armies that I can, at some future point, throw against my players. Skeletons, goblins, gnolls, orcs, ogres, Yuan-ti, Githyanki, giants. Minions come in all shapes and sizes. The one hit point minion is one of 4th edition's greatest contributions to the D&D legacy. Minions are fun for the players insofar as they provide instant gratification. All it takes is one good sword swing or one magic missile to drop a minion, while a good area of effect power might annihilate an entire group of them in one fell swoop. They're a godsend to the DM who doesn't need to waste time tracking hit points. The Dungeon Master's Guide has a simple formula for the power level of a minion compared to a standard monster. I say, forget the math. When a battle calls for minions, give the players everything you've got. And I mean everything. What's the worst that could happen? I'll tell you. The heroes might be overwhelmed and defeated. In my campaign, that's never a showstopper. If you're the type of DM who sees this potential outcome as an opportunity and not a campaign ender, then you'll probably agree with me that you can never have too many minions. Give the players the fight they've been hankering for all week and let the popcorn fall where it may. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it makes sense to include only a handful of minions in an encounter. What I'm referring to are those momentous occasions when you want to impress and terrify your players with what they're up against. When an enemy has the advantage of sheer numbers, players start to think twice about their conventional monster slaying tactics. True, a wizard's fireball can kill 20 minions as easy as one, but if that still leaves 20 more minions on the table, the heroes could find themselves in serious trouble. They might even be forced to retreat or, gasp, surrender. When I build encounters, I balance them without factoring minions into the mix. That's not in keeping with the rules as written, but the DM has license to break the rules, as long as he or she does so fairly, consistently, and openly. Depending on how the minions are arrayed and when they show up, has a lot to do with their effectiveness on the battlefield. If they're neatly arrayed in tight clusters for all the heroes to see, the wizard will make sure they're not around for very long. On the other hand, if they're spread out, or if they only appear when certain conditions arise, they can truly change the complexion of the battlefield and force the players to reconsider their tactics. For example, I sometimes keep minions in reserve until a bad guy summons them, and I often keep extras behind my DM screen in case the player characters are having too easy a time. Lessons learned. When I think of minions, I think of the big fight scenes in all 3 films of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. For some reason, the image of Aragorn fighting orcs always springs to mind, and I think to myself, I will never get tired of watching Aragorn kill orcs. Most of my players are the same way. They long to play out battles against seemingly overwhelming numbers of foes and watch their heroes carve and blast their way through enemy lines. Wading through waves of minions makes the heroes feel like heroes. Minions in large numbers terrify and excite the players. Although minions come with specified XP values, it's ultimately up to the DM to decide how much XP the characters receive for defeating them, and don't let any rulebook tell you otherwise. I tend to ad hoc the XP awards for minions. If the minions prove to be instrumental, then I might award full XP for them. On the other hand, if the minions aren't terribly effective, I might award none. If you follow my advice and start bombarding your players with veritable armies of minions, be advised that the goal should not be to annihilate the party. If that's your objective, it's a lot simpler just to drop an asteroid on them and be done with it. No, your goal as the DM is to entertain the players by creating in-game situations that are perilous and fun, and minions are merely tools toward that end. If the heroes start dropping like flies, consider that the bad guys might stabilize them and take them prisoner. Many great adventures begin with just such a setback or defeat. Until the next encounter.
I want to thank all of you who have made it to the end of this video. This reading comes from Chris Perkins' Dungeon Magazine series, The Dungeon Master Experience, in which Chris gives excerpts of wisdom and lessons he's learned from many years of running games. If you're interested in reading it for yourself, you can find a link down in the description along with links to where you can find the music used in this video, which is a product of Critical Role's Scanlan Shorthalt Press.